All right, welcome to another deep dive. And this time we're strapping in and taking flight with Captain America, Brave New World, because wow, have we gotten some reviews from you guys? And let's just say opinions are all over the place with this one.
Yeah, it's pretty wild to see the spectrum, right? Like some are calling it the best cat movie, period. Others, not so much.
Exactly. So we're diving into to see what's clicking, what's clunking, and maybe what this all means for where the MCU is heading next. Big shoes to fill, right? After all, it's not Steve Rogers anymore. It's Anthony Mackie's Sam Wilson as Captain America. And, most of what you guys sent in actually praises Mackie's performance, saying he brings something totally new to the role.
Yeah, it makes sense. This isn't the picture-perfect Steve Rogers. Sam's got his doubts. He's less sure of himself, which honestly might make him more relatable to a lot of people these days.
Makes you think, right? Like, is it more human to see the struggle? Because then there's that Mexico City fight sequence, which you flagged in your notes. Critics are raving about it, calling it one of the best action scenes in the whole MCU.
Oh, that's a good one. And, with all the talk about CGI overload in these movies lately, director Julius Onah, he went for something way more grounded. Real stunts, just enough CGI to make it pop. And you get this fight that feels raw, it feels fast, it feels like Sam's using his brain as much as his brawn.
So it's acronym that's got a purpose, not just flashy for the sake of it?
Exactly.
I like that. And now another performance that jumped out from what you sent me, Harrison Ford, Thunderbolt Ross, from Secretary of State to President, and a lot of folks are saying Ford just nails it.
Oh, yeah, Ford is bringing it. It'd be easy to play Ross as just, the tough military guy. But there's this undercurrent, right? You see the ambition, maybe even some regret. Like there's more going on beneath the surface.
Way more than what we've seen in the comics or those quick glimpses in other movies. And we can't talk Ross without talking Red Hulk, right? The reviews are going nuts for his transformation scene.
Oh, man. In the theater when that happened. Gave me chills like seeing Hulk smash for the first time, But it goes deeper than that, right? Ross becoming Red Hulk. It's like this question about how power changes you, even if you start with good intentions. Which kind of runs through the whole movie if you think about it.
Okay, so we've got Sam wrestling with what it means to be Captain America, and Ross, well, he's wrestling with his own demons, literally. It's got to make for some serious tension, especially with their history.
Totally, and it gets into some heavier themes. You've got Sam trying to live up to those Cap ideals, but without the super soldier serum, without that blind faith in the system.
Then there's Ross, who's like, screw the system, I'm taking over, and then boom, giant red rage monster to do just that.
Yeah, and it's not just good guy versus bad guy. The movie seems to be saying both ways have problems. Power messes with you no matter what. Kind of a bold move for a superhero flick.
So Brave New World is trying to dig a little deeper, huh? But the plot itself, I'm seeing some mixed feelings. Some are saying it feels too much like Winter Soldier, that whole government conspiracy thing we've seen before.
I could see that. It does borrow some from Winter Soldier, especially the whole shadowy organization thing. But it feels like they're trying to connect that to something bigger, like systemic injustice, the history of racism in America, that kind of thing.
Now that's interesting. Taking familiar stuff and weaving it into social commentary, that's worth unpacking, for sure. But real quick, gotta talk villains. Samuel Stearns, the leader and Sidewinder. A lot of missed opportunity vibes in the reviews.
Yeah, I get that. On paper, those two could be awesome villains, right? But in the movie, they feel kind of thin, like they're just there to move the plot along, not like they're their own characters with depth.
So we've got strong performances, cool action, thought-provoking themes, but maybe some stumbles with the plot and villains. Seems like Brave New World is shaping up to be quite the mixed bag.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fun, right? It's not a simple yes or no. This movie's swinging for the fences, even if it doesn't always connect. Definitely something worth talking about, worth breaking down, worth arguing over.
So you said Brave New World is dipping its toes into social commentary, which seems to be a big point of debate in the reviews. Some love it, some say it doesn't go far enough.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's like the movie's caught between acknowledging this, the systemic injustice, but not wanting to fully go there.
So like it's testing the waters, but not diving in.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where Isaiah Bradley comes in. Remember him from Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
Uh-huh.
Well, for those that need a refresher, he's that black super soldier, the one who got experimented on and then tossed aside by the government. His story is like, it's a direct hit on how black Americans have gotten the short end of the stick throughout history. you know?
Yeah, so in Brave New World, he's like this constant reminder of the ugly side of the American dream, right? The victims of the very system that Captain America is supposed to stand for.
Right. And for Sam, taking on the shield as a black man, he can't just ignore that, pretend it never happened.
That's heavy stuff. So how does the movie handle that? Like, does it give us any answers?
Well, that's where it gets a little tricky. It acknowledges the issues, but then it kind of falls back on hope and unity. Like saying, we can fix this with talking and teamwork.
And you bet that. Or does it feel like a cop-out?
Honestly, I'm still figuring that out myself. Part of me likes that they're at least trying to deal with it, not just brushing it aside. But I also think they could have, I don't know, gone further with it, pushed the audience a bit more.
So it's a step in the right direction, but maybe a small one, like they're holding back a bit?
Maybe, yeah. It might be where the whole MCU is right now, you know? Trying to please everyone, the diehards and the newcomers, and telling a deeper story at the same time. That's a tightrope walk.
Speaking of balancing acts, another thing popping up in the reviews is the pacing. Some folks are saying it feels rushed, especially with certain relationships, like you mentioned Sam and Torres.
Right, that one, we're told they're close, but we don't really see it. It's like, boom, they're buddies, move on. Not a lot of, actual connection happening.
And then there's Betty Ross, back after being gone for what, like 3 movies? It's so sudden.
It does feel a little jarring, right? Which is a bummer, because Liv Tyler, she's a great actress, could have done a lot with the role, but she's just there. More like a plot device than a real character.
Like they needed her to make something happen and just kind of dropped her in.
Yeah, kinda. And it makes me wonder, are they just trying to squeeze too much into one movie?
It's a common complaint these days, right? Too many characters, too many storylines, stuff gets lost in the shuffle. And here, it seems like some of the relationships got shortchanged.
I think so.
All right, so we've got the social stuff, the pacing, the characters, but there's this big thing we haven't talked about. Franchise fatigue?
Oh yeah, that. The one thing no franchise can escape forever.
And it's starting to feel real with the MCU, right? Like they're more focused on setting up the next 10 movies than on telling a good story right now.
That's a feeling a lot of people are getting, yeah. And you mentioned the whole adamantium celestial corpse subplot in your notes. It's kind of wedged in there, isn't it?
Totally. It's like a giant neon sign flashing, hey, remember this is all connected, even if it doesn't make sense yet.
Exactly. And for some folks, that's just too much. They're like, just tell me a good story. I don't need a universe-spanning epic every single time.
Yeah, it can be overwhelming. So we've got this tension, right, between making a good movie on its own and setting up the next chapter, and this feeling that maybe, just maybe, the MCU is getting a little too big for its bridges.
And that leads to the big question. Where does the MCU go from here? Keep building the mega franchise or try something smaller, more focused?
It's like they're standing at a fork in the road. One way leads to more interconnected chaos, the other to, I don't know, a more character-driven approach.
That's the multi-million-dollar question, isn't it? Which path will they choose?
Only time will tell. But for now, we've got Brave New World to grapple with. And even with all its issues, it's trying to say something, right? Trying to have a real conversation.
And that's what makes it worth watching, even if it's not a perfect film. It gets people talking, makes them think, maybe even rethink what they believe. And those are the movies that stick with you,
Man, we've gone back and forth on this one, haven't we? Is Brave New World like this bold new direction for the MCU or just, another franchise spinning its wheels?
I don't think it has to be one or the other. You said earlier, it's like the movie's at a crossroads. And I think that's spot on. It's got this balancing act going on, trying to keep the hardcore fan happy with that classic Marvel feel, but also trying to bring in something new, something a little deeper for everyone else.
And judging by the reviews and what you've said, it's not always a smooth ride, is it?
No, not really. It's a bit like, jamming a square block into a round hole sometimes. But even if it's not perfect, the fact that they're trying, that they're pushing for something more, I gotta respect that.
So even with the pacing hiccups, the message being a bit all over the place, you're saying there's still something, I don't know, ambitious about it that's worth appreciating.
Totally. Remember how we were talking about Sam Wilson's Cap being different? I think that goes for the whole movie, too. It's trying to break the mold, deal with some real-world issues, make us rethink what it means to be a hero.
And one thing that struck me in the reviews is the comparisons to other superhero movies lately. It's like People feel this one is, well, trying to be more than just a popcorn flick.
It makes sense. Audiences are getting smarter, right? They don't just want to see explosions and CGI fights for 2 hours. They want something to chew on, something that makes them feel something real.
So you're thinking maybe Brave New World, even with its flaws, is a sign of what's to come. Like the MCU's growing up a bit, moving away from just pure escapism.
It's definitely possible. I wouldn't say it's a done deal, but this movie could be a turning point. It asks hard questions, it shakes things up, and it shows us that being a hero, it ain't always black and white.
Which, at the end of the day, is what we want from our movies, right? Something that makes us think, makes us challenge our own ideas, something that sticks with us when we walk out of the theater.
Exactly. We need stories that show us the world the way it is. Even the messy parts, make us question things, look at different points of view.
And Brave New World, it seems to be doing that, even if it stumbles a bit along the way. It's asking what it means to be a good guy in a world where, well, sometimes there are no easy answers.
And that's a conversation worth having, even if it gets a little uncomfortable sometimes.
I think you're right. So I guess that about wraps up our deep dive into Captain America, Brave New World. We've covered a lot of ground, heard a lot of different takes, and hopefully given you all some food for thought.
And remember, this is just the start. Now it's your turn. Go see the movie, make up your own mind, then come tell us what you think.
Always love hearing from you guys. So until next time, keep those brains working, keep asking questions, and never stop learning.
Because there's always something new to discover.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive. CAES.